So students, under chapter digestion and absorption, in our last class we have learned till digestive glands. 5 digestive glands in detail we have learned. Now we will learn exactly how exactly digestion happens. So the process of digestion we are going to learn now, that is heading digestion of food. So digestion is, what is the meaning of digestion? It is a conversion of complex insoluble food material into simple and absorbable form. Meaning, what food we eat, the food what we eat is complex material because the food contains carbohydrates, proteins, then lipids, fibers, vitamins, minerals, water. Okay, all that will be there. All that has to be separated, and the molecules, the size of the material will be bigger, so it has to be broken into smaller pieces. That will be digestion. Then the food what we eat is complex material and it is insoluble material, so that will be converted to simple, means the larger food molecules will be broken into smaller materials. Like you can it is evident that when we take food in the mouth only, with the help of 4 types of teeth what we have, some like incisors will help for cutting the food, then canines sharp will help for tearing the food, then molars and premolars will help for grinding the food, that is mastication of food. So there only, in the mouth only, the larger food material will be broken into smaller. When it goes to stomach and intestine, it becomes very, very small, so it becomes a simple material. So complex material will be broken into simpler materials and in a form of absorbable form. Absorbable means intestine of our body should absorb, so that absorbed material should go to blood and we get energy to our body. Okay, so it includes some mechanical processes. Digestion includes some mechanical process, like for example, first step in the mouth, when we take food, that is ingestion of food, first food will be under action of chewing action of teeth, that is called mastication. Mastication is called chewing. Then deglutition means swallowing. First, when we take food into the mouth, teeth will help for cutting, tearing and grinding the food, that is called chewing the food. Then food mixed with saliva mixes with food, then that goes to before it goes to esophagus, it will be swallowing. Okay, then that is called deglutition. Then peristalsis happens, that is the food what we take is more, okay, at once, but the food pipe what is there, annanala, that is thin. Okay, the space is less there, but food is bigger, so it will move there. Then the muscles present in the esophagus will expand at that area where food is there. Then it will create a wave-like movement, so that food will be pushed into the esophagus and finally it goes to stomach. And that wave-like movement where the muscle is pushing the food forward, okay, so smooth movement of food happens. That wave-like movement, it happens through esophagus, that is called peristaltic movement. You know this, high school classes. It is because of muscular contraction and relaxation of muscles. So the food what is there, food what we eat, when it mixes with the saliva, it is called bolus. Food when it mixes with saliva, it is called bolus. You can see there, here, this is food what they are showing here. No, this yellow color structure what they are showing is food, and this tube what is there, that is esophagus. So you can see where food is there, at that area muscle will expand. Okay, then it will push the food, next area will expand, then previous area will come back to normal position. Okay, like that wave like movement is created in the esophagus, that is called peristaltic movement. So these are all mechanical processes which happens. Then first step of digestion occurs in the mouth only, where starch present in the food, whatever starch is there, like rice also contains starch is a carbohydrate, so starch, which is a polysaccharide, you know, so starch present in the food is converted to simple sugars like maltose. For example, you can see there, and for conversion of starch into simple maltose. Okay, for that salivary amylase enzyme is required. You already know, I have explained in last class. When we take food into the mouth, first step of digestion occurs in the mouth, where food mixes with the saliva, and saliva contains important enzyme called salivary amylase. It is also called ptyalin. You can see there, salivary amylase, that converts starch, which is a polysaccharide, into disaccharides. Polysaccharide means it will have many sugar units. Disaccharide means only 2 units. Okay, so complex material is converted to simpler material. You can see there only. Polysaccharide means it will have many sugar units. It is broken into only 2 sugar units. That means definition of digestion is what? Complex food material is converted to simpler food material. That is done there. You can see. But this is just a first step of digestion. Then about 30% of starch is digested by salivary amylase enzyme. Not all. Only 30% of starch will be digested by ptyalin, that is salivary amylase enzyme, which is present in the saliva. You can see the reaction there. Starch at pH 6.8. 6.8 is a pH of saliva. 6.8. Salivary amylase converts starch to maltose, simple sugar. Then isomaltose. Then limit dextrins. So these are all simpler molecules there. So complex molecule is converted to simpler molecules, like starch is complex, maltose, isomaltose and limit dextrins are simpler materials. So this is first step of digestion which occurs in the mouth. That's why they have given digestion in buccal cavity, that is digestion in the oral cavity or mouth, first step of digestion. Then second step occurs in the stomach. You see, stomach stores food for 4 to 5 hours. You can see there, they are showing the structure of stomach there. Stomach, okay, and this is a food there, and they are showing a liquid there. What is that liquid? That is gastric juice. Food will be dipped in gastric juice. Okay, like what gastric juice? That gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid, HCl here. Hydrochloric acid and enzyme pepsin enzyme. So stomach will store food for 4 to 5 hours. Then it is mixed with, food is mixed with gastric juice by churning movement, and it is converted into acidic pasty form. Means food, when it goes to stomach, in the stomach churning movement happens. Churning means, churning. Now in the ujjudu antivalla, that is churning action. Then food is converted to acidic form. Why acidic form? Because hydrochloric acid is there. Hydrochloric acid, it's an acid, it will convert food into acidic substance, which is like a paste like material. Now this is called partially digested food. Food is not completely digested here, it is partially digested. That partially digested food is called chyme. You can see their spelling, they have given CHYME. It is not pronounced as chyme, it is pronounced as chyme only. Chyme. No CH is there, chyme. Then what exactly happens there? Why gastric juice should contain HCl and pepsin? For 2 reasons. One is HCl will convert inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin. Inactive pepsinogen, what is there? That is not involved in digestion. It is inactive. When it can involve in digestion? Only when it is converted to pepsin. So inactive pepsinogen is converted to active pepsin by HCl. Then second, protein will be broken there. Protein is converted to proteoses and peptones. Proteins will break and it is converted to proteoses and peptones. Peptone is a peptide. Peptide means, peptide bond, you have already learnt. So pepsin enzyme, what is there? That pepsin enzyme converts proteins into proteoses and peptones. You remember these 2 products because we are going to learn these 2 products again there. Next step also. Because these are not the final products. These are the intermediate products. These will be converted to final products later. Okay, because you know proteins are converted to amino acids, but these are not amino acids here. So these are not the final products. These are intermediate products. So proteins are converted to proteoses and peptones or peptides. What happens next? This all happens in the stomach. The next step, what happens in infants? So previous slide what we saw, that is a digestion in adult, andre doddavaರಲ್ಲಿ ವಯಸ್ಕರಲ್ಲಿ. Now what about children's, especially infants, baby? Okay, there some different concept is there. You see, in case of infants, prorenin is there. Renin is an enzyme there. Okay, prorenin is inactive. It should be converted to renin, then only it is active. Like pepsinogen is inactive, it is converted to pepsin. Like that, prorenin is inactive, it is converted to active renin with the help of HCl. This is where this is digestion in infants, in babies. Okay, so in infants, prorenin is converted to renin by HCl. Then milk, because they are the babies, no newborn, they are drinking mother's milk, breast milk. So milk contains special protein, you know, it is called casein protein. You can see there, CASEIN, casein. Okay, casein protein, which is called a milk protein. Then this renin enzyme, what is there? That enzyme will convert milk protein casein into paracasein. This is in children's, remember, not in adult. So first is prorenin is converted to renin, that is inactive prorenin is converted to active renin by HCl. Then the same renin, it converts casein, that is milk protein, into paracasein. Then paracasein will be converted to calcium paracalcinate. Okay, paracasein is converted to calcium paracasinate, that is curd. It is converted to curd with the help of calcium ions, divalent calcium ions. You can see there, Ca2 plus, no, Ca2 plus. So calcium is required there. Calcium will convert paracasein into calcium paracalcinate, that is curd. Then next is this calcium paracasinate will be converted to peptones with the help of enzyme pepsin. So you see there, in case of adults, what happens? HCl will convert pepsinogen into pepsin. Then the pepsin will convert directly proteins into proteoses and peptones. Here peptone is produced at last. How? Prorenin is converted to renin. Renin will convert casein milk protein into paracasein. Calcium will convert paracasein into calcium paracasinate, which is curd. Then calcium paracasinate will be converted to peptones with the help of enzyme pepsin. Okay, this is in case of babies. Okay, infants, that is newborn, the babies which are dependent on mother's milk, breast milk. The gastric lipase hydrolyzes small amount of lipids. Then lipase enzyme is also there in the gastric juice. That lipase, name only says lipase will act on lipids. Lipid means protein, lipid means fats. So small amount of lipids, that is fats, are also hydrolyzed, means converted to product by gastric lipase, means lipase enzyme produced by the stomach. Next, what about digestion in small intestine, which is a last step of digestion, which occurs in small intestine. You can see there, the green color dot, what they are showing is a food which is passing through intestine, which is a coiled structure. They are showing that coiled structure, yellow color, you see there, that is small intestine. So it occurs, the last step of digestion, which starts in duodenum. That is the first part of small intestine. If you remember, small intestine has three parts. The first part is called duodenum, second part is called jejunum, and third part which joins to large intestine is called ileum. No? So in first area, where in the duodenum, final step of digestion starts, where chyme is a partially digested food. You already learnt when chyme is produced. Chyme is partially digested food. It is a paste like food when HCl, hydrochloric acid, mixes with the food in the stomach. So that partially digested food comes to intestine, small intestine from the stomach. Then what happens? You can see that in that picture they are showing their stomach. This is stomach. Then it comes to duodenum here. This is a area where C-shaped curve, what you see, that is duodenum, first part. There what happens? Their common hepatopancreatic duct is there, where liver also releases bile juice, then pancreas releases pancreatic juice, intestine also releases intestinal juice. So all that will act on the food, all that mixes with the food. What happens? We will see. So chyme is mixed with bile juice released by liver, and the food is mixed with pancreatic juice, then food is mixed with intestinal juice. It is also called succus entericus. Already you know, in last class we have learnt it. Then what actually happens? First one, when chyme, food mixes with bile juice released by liver. You already know, in frog I have explained. When bile juice mixes with the food, the first step occurs is emulsification of fat. Emulsification means, see, bile juice released by liver is required for digestion of fat or lipids. This is a fat molecule, which is larger fat molecule. You can see the ball like structure they are showing, that is fat molecule. Okay, the fat molecule is called fat globule. Fat globule. The fat globule, when it mixes with the bile salt, you know bile salts are, bile juice contains two bile salts, that is bile pigments, bilirubin and biliverdin. Already I have explained in NEET class also. So when bile juice mixes with the fat globule, the larger fat globules are converted to smaller fat globules, that is called micelles or micelles. Okay, so already I have explained in frog, same thing happens there also. So when bile juice mixes with larger fat globules are broken into smaller fat globules. You can see here the big ball like structure is converted to small ball like structure, you see. So this is one fat molecule, one fat globule. Around that, this orange color what you see, that is bile salt. Okay, surrounded by bile salt. Then finally that process is called emulsification. Emulsification means like same like saponification of soap, you know, like rubbing of soap, then lather is produced and then nore bartade athara. So that is emulsification. So bile helps in digestion by emulsification, that is conversion of fat into smaller fat globules called micelles. I told you in frog that's called micelles, or also called tiny droplets. Process is very simple. Bigger fat globules are broken into very small globules. This is what happens, you know, you have big ice ball. With a hammer, if you break it, then it becomes a small ice ball. Smaller pieces, not ball, smaller pieces. So like that, one big fat molecule breaks into smaller, very smaller fat molecules. That is called tiny droplets or micelles. You can say micelles also, your wish. Okay, it provides large surface area for the action of lipase on fat. So what happens now? Lipase enzyme, which has to act on lipids, now it will act on this material because it has already formed a smaller molecule. When bigger molecule is broken into smaller and it will spread to larger area, then surface area for the enzyme increases. So now enzyme can act on all those smaller molecules very simply, easily. So bile now activates lipase enzyme. The bile juice activates lipase enzyme. Name only says lipase means it will act on lipids or fats. Other name for lipid is fat, you know. So lipase enzyme is activated by bile juice. Then bile juice will make easy environment for lipase enzyme to act. How easy environment? Lipase enzyme, it is difficult for lipase enzyme to act on bigger fat globules. Bigger fat globules are converted to smaller globules or micelles by bile juice. That is called emulsification of fat. Then when it becomes a smaller molecule and spreads to larger area, okay, then lipase enzyme can act easily on that smaller fat globules, and it will digest fat globules. Then you know what happens finally. Fat is converted to fatty acid and glycerol. That is a final product. I mean, in 10th standard you have learnt it. Then action of pancreatic juice. How pancreas acts on chyme or food, that is we will see now. The pancreas releases pancreatic juice, and that pancreatic juice contains many enzymes, you know, like amylopsin or pancreatic amylase. This is the enzyme, one of the enzyme. There are many enzymes in pancreatic juice. So pancreatic juice contains pancreatic amylase enzyme. It will convert remaining starch into disaccharides. How, what remaining? Because 30% of the starch is already digested in the mouth by salivary amylase produced by saliva. Remaining 70% of the starch, now that 70% will get digested to final products. Like starch is converted to maltose, isomaltose and limit dextrin. Same like what salivary amylase did. Salivary amylase also converted starch into maltose, isomaltose and limit dextrins. Same here also. Remaining 70% starch also will be converted to final product by amylopsin or pancreatic amylase. That was salivary amylase, this is pancreatic amylase. Work is same. Both the enzymes will work in the same way and on the same material, that is starch. Okay, now as I told you, pancreatic juice contains many enzymes. You can see there. One by one we will learn slowly. Okay, then one more enzyme is produced by pancreatic juice, that is enterokinin. It is also called enteropeptidase enzyme. Enterokinin or enteropeptidase enzyme. It is present in the intestinal juice, not in the pancreatic juice. It is present in intestinal juice. Yesterday, if you remember, I told you to remember many enzymes released by intestinal juice, Succus entericus. Because I told you in digestion there are many steps. While learning that, it is easy for us. So what is that? Enterokinin or enteropeptidase present in the intestinal juice. It will activate trypsinogen to become trypsin. Trypsinogen is produced by pancreas only, but it is inactive. But how it becomes active then? I repeat what I said. Trypsinogen is an enzyme produced by pancreas. Okay, but trypsinogen is inactive. How it becomes active? When trypsinogen is converted to trypsin, then it becomes active, because trypsin is active. What will make trypsin active, or what will convert trypsinogen to trypsin? That is intestinal juice. Intestinal juice contains one important enzyme, enterokinin or enteropeptidase, that will convert trypsinogen to trypsin. You see there, trypsinogen present in the pancreas is converted to trypsin by enterokinin enzyme, that is produced by intestinal juice, not pancreas. Then chymotrypsinogen is converted to chymotrypsin. Understand, huh? Chymotrypsinogen is converted to chymotrypsin with the help of enzyme trypsin. These are all chain reactions. Means the product produced will be used as a medium for converting one molecule to other molecule there. You can see there, in each step it is like that only. First one, trypsinogen is converted to trypsin by enterokinin enzyme. Then chymotrypsinogen is converted to chymotrypsin by the enzyme same trypsin. Then procarboxypeptidase, do you remember in Last class we have learnt it. Pro-carboxypeptidase enzyme is converted to carboxypeptidase. Pro is removed. Pro means primitive, first formed. This is last formed. Pro-carboxypeptidase is converted to carboxypeptidase with the help of enzyme trypsin that is produced here. Now, proteins, peptones and proteoses, which is there in the food now. Proteins, peptones and proteoses. Where it is produced? In previous slide, if you remember, see here. What here? Here you see peptones are produced, and it is in children's. Here proteins are converted to proteoses and peptones. I told you these are intermediate products. These are not final products. Now final products will be produced. You see. You can see that proteins, peptones and proteoses will be converted to dipeptides. You know what is the meaning of word? Di means two peptides. This will have many peptides that will be converted to dipeptides. Simple. From many to two. Okay, from many, so many are there, from there it becomes two. That means complex became simple. Proteins, peptones and proteoses will be converted to dipeptides with the help of enzyme trypsin or chymotrypsin. Okay, trypsin will convert proteins into dipeptides. Peptones will be converted to dipeptides by chymotrypsin. Then proteoses will be converted to dipeptides by carboxypeptidase. 3 enzymes are there because 3 reactants are there. Proteins are converted to dipeptides by trypsin. Peptones are converted to dipeptides by chymotrypsin. Proteoses are converted to dipeptides by carboxypeptidase enzyme. Then fats are converted to diglycerides first. You know what is the meaning of diglyceride? Diglyceride, triglyceride, you have already learnt. Like if one glycerol is there with 2 fatty acids, then it is diglyceride. And one glycerol is there with 3 fatty acids, then it is triglyceride. So a typical fat molecule is a triglyceride. No, it will have 3 fatty acids. So fats are converted to diglycerides, meaning 2 fatty acids. From 3 fatty acids to 2 fatty acids. From 2 fatty acid to 1 fatty acid. Monoglyceride means only 1 fatty acid. 1 glycerol, 1 fatty acid. Here 2 glycerol, 2 fatty. Sorry, 1 glycerol, 2 fatty acid. Here 1 glycerol, 3 fatty acids. Glycerol is only 1 in all 3. We are talking about fats. Fats are also called lipids. So the enzyme which acts on lipids is lipase. So lipase will convert lipids or fats into diglyceride, and diglyceride becomes monoglyceride by same lipase. So this is the first product what food contains, and this is the final product what body absorbs for getting energy. Then you know that nucleases enzyme was there in the pancreatic juice. That that name only says nucleases enzyme will act on nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, and it will finally convert it into nucleotides. Nucleotides, you know, nucleotide means it will have 3 parts. That is phosphate, pentose sugar and nitrogen bases like adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine, uracil. You know this. Nucleic acids are converted to nucleotides. That is entire long DNA. Polynucleotide means many nucleotide chain of DNA is converted to single nucleotides by nucleases. So we have learnt what pancreas does and what liver does. Now next we have to see last step of digestion which occurs in the intestine. Intestine contains all these enzymes. This is easy to remember. If you know the name of enzyme, then you can write the reactant and product. Like dipeptidases will act on dipeptides, maltase will act on maltose, lactase will act on lactose, sucrase will act on sucrose, nucleotidase will act on nucleotides, nucleosidase will act on nucleosides, lipases will act on lipids. Okay, and these are connected to previous slide where lipase enzyme has converted fats into diglycerides and monoglycerides. then that has to be finally converted into fatty acid and glycerol, because fatty acid and glycerol is last product. Here fatty acid and glycerol both combined. Now both should separate. Glycerol should separate and fatty acid should separate, because they are combined here. Okay, so dipeptidase enzyme present in the intestinal juice will convert dipeptides into amino acids, because final product of protein digestion is amino acid, you know. Then maltase enzyme present in intestinal juice. All these are juice enzymes present in intestinal juice. Maltase will convert maltose to 2-glucose. Lactase will convert lactose to glucose plus galactose, because glucose plus galactose is lactose. Lactose is a disaccharide. It will have 2 sugar units. One is glucose, other one is galactose. That 2 sugar units breaks, both will get separated. So lactase converts lactose into glucose plus galactose. Sucrase will convert sucrose to glucose plus fructose, because sucrose is a disaccharide again. Sucrose is produced by binding of one glucose and one fructose. That will get separated now. Sucrase will convert sucrose to glucose plus fructose. Nucleotidase, name only says nucleotidase, acts on nucleotides and converts it into nucleosides, because you know nucleotide means it will have 3 parts. Nucleoside means it will have only 2 parts. Complex should be converted to simple, no? So nucleotidase will convert nucleotides into nucleosides. Nucleosidase will convert nucleosides into sugar plus base, because you know pentose sugar and nitrogen bases both will form nucleoside. Now both will separate. Then lipases will convert final products of diglycerides and monoglycerides into fatty acid plus glycerol, because diglyceride and monoglyceride is what? Diglyceride means 1 glycerol, 2 fatty acids. Monoglyceride means 1 glycerol, 1 fatty acid. Both are combined. They have to be separated, no? So they are separated here. Fatty acid is separated, glycerol is separated. Okay, so what you see here, these are all end products of digestion. These are end products of digestion. Okay, so next step is what happens in the large intestine. So in large intestine there is no significant digestive activity. Means in large intestine digestion process doesn't happen, because it is already completed. Okay, but what happens? Absorption of some materials will happen. Digested food is absorbed in the small intestine only by finger like structures, that is called villi. You know, villi is meant for absorbing digested food. Undigested food only goes to large intestine, but in that undigested food also some required materials will be there. Like food is digested and it is absorbed in the small intestine. It is absorbed by small intestine. Now undigested waste, what is there? That is what you call excreta. Still it contains some useful materials. When it goes to large intestine, then again some absorption happens. That is absorption of water. If this absorption of water doesn't happen in large intestine, then excreta will be watery excreta. That means this will be like paste. Okay, like semi-solid. Like during loose motion it happens. Water is not absorbed. Water will be lost. So finally it will be like watery stool or watery excreta. From that water should be absorbed so that it becomes a solid part. For absorption of water and minerals and certain drugs. Drugs means certain like some tablets and all you have taken, then it will be absorbed there. Okay, absorption of water, minerals and certain drugs will be done in large intestine. Then large intestine also secretes mucus for adhering waste. Have you noticed that excreta, human excreta, that every day morning you experience it? Human excreta will be sticky. Why it is sticky? Because large intestine produces mucus, sticky. Now simbala anta heltivalla, moogal bartalla athara. So that sticky material will get stuck to the undigested waste, that is excreta. That's why it is sticky together and lubricating it for easy passage. And mucus is present till the anus. Okay, because the excreta should be smoothly, it should move out. That every day morning you experience it, it goes smoothly. If it doesn't go smoothly, then doctors first, when you go to clinic, if you have any problem, they will ask yesterday what you ate, where you ate, did you eat outside food, street food, then motion is proper, motion is going properly. They are talking about whether excreta goes smoothly. If it doesn't go smoothly, then there are some health problems. That is why they ask some things like that, because they show some symptoms. Then fully digested semi-fluid alkaline food in small intestine is called chyle. Remember, chyme is different. Chyme is partially digested food. When food is finally digested, which small intestine should absorb, because we need energy, we get energy from this chyle only. The fully digested semi-fluid alkaline basic food in the small intestine is called chyle, 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 and the chyle will be absorbed by the finger-like structure in the inner wall of small intestine. They absorb, that is villi, villi absorb. Next, regulation of digestive activities. What controls digestion process? Whether it is controlled by hormones, because we know only to eat food. When we eat food, when it goes to stomach, it is not under our control. Then what happens next? What controls digestion process? Digestion activities like gastric and intestinal secretions, like at what time stomach should secrete gastric juice, and what time intestine should secrete intestinal juice, that is controlled by neural and hormonal mechanisms. Some neural control is there and some hormones also control, like you already know, like cholecystokinin is there, gastrin hormone is there, the what we call hormones released by gastrointestinal tract. You have learnt in last chapter, chemical coordination and integration. They control, some hormones control. The sight, smell and presence of food in the buccal cavity stimulates salivary secretions. Like when you look at tasty food, like your favorite food, then mouth starts watering. And then ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ saliva ಜಾಸ್ತಿ produce ಆಗ್ತದೆ. When you look at some videos where they are preparing tasty food, if it is your favorite food, then mouth starts watering. That is also because of this control. That is some neural control and some hormonal control. Sight, smell or presence of food. If food is present, smell of food, okay, so your neighbors are preparing food, you get a smell and it is your favorite food, you can guess what kind of food it is, okay, then your mouth starts watering. Or you are walking on the street and you saw some street food, it is your favorite food, like when you look at golgappa or pani puri, okay, especially girls, okay, they'll get what we call they feel like eating it, okay, they are tempted, yes, they are tempted. So at that time also saliva is produced. That is, production of more saliva is also because of neural signal. Then gastric and intestinal mucosa secretes digestive hormones. You know this, stomach and intestinal, inner layer of stomach and intestine, that is mucosa, also secretes digestive hormones. You know what kind of digestive hormones, like gastrin, cholecystokinin, all that. They control secretion of digestive juices. You already know this. They control digestive juices. So in our next class, we will learn in detail next process, that is absorption of food. Okay, so keep watching my classes. Thank you.